Sorry for that rude interruption. Anyway, so as Jack is walking in, he sits down. There's no one at the bar first, and then he goes, "Hi, Lloyd," and there's a great shot of him going, "Hi, Lloyd," and he's like, "Hello, Mr. Torrance." It's like, uh, yeah. He goes, and there's no one else there. And he goes, "It's a little slow tonight, isn't it?" It's just a great laugh. It's like, "What'll it be, Mr. Torrance?" "I'll have this drink." It's like, "Yeah." What is it? He's like, "The wife." It's like it's just the wife. She's acting all hostile and all that. She's like, she just won't let it fucking go what happened. She thinks I hurt her. But you know what? Hurt him. But you know what? I was only pulling him away. I hurt it too hard and dislocated his arm. It wasn't my fault. If the little fucker hadn't pushed papers away. It's like, "You like her to stay here?" "Yeah." "She's annoying though, Lloyd. Just women." I was like, "Can't live with them, can't live without them." That's what I say, Mr. Torrance. He's like, "True spoken words, Lloyd. Here's tip." It's like, "Your money's not wanted here." He's like, "Why not?" "Best not to ask, Mr. Torrance." It's like, "Your money's not wanted here." "Well, here you go. You sure as that. Well, here's to drinking 5 months away." And then, of course, my favorite quote that he says in this scene is, "I wouldn't hurt him. I wouldn't touch a hair on his goddamn head." I love the little son of a bitch. I fucking love that line. It's like, that's true, Mr. Torrance. And the dialogue between them is great. It's like, "Yeah, Lloyd, it's amazing." And it's just adds to the creepiness because Lloyd is not there. I like the way the camera's positioned at the bar and just seeing the fact that Lloyd isn't there. He's a ghost. It's like, yeah. You ever hear about the family that got murdered up here? Asked the kids. It's like, oh, asked the two wife and kids. Like, oh, yeah. And they mention him throughout the film. Like, Axe killed his two little girls, and other people's like, yeah. Walks off. It's like, "See you later, Lloyd." And of course, you have more scenes of Shelley Duvall being stressed and Danny being just weird and having nightmares. And um you know I love all of them moments, and as the film goes on, of course, uh he like Jack Torrance is getting more and more impatient with when he's like, "Wendy, why don't you calm the fuck down," and all that, and just being an asshole. It's like, "Would you stop, Wendy?" and all that, and just being crazy and taking his anger out on her. It's like, I didn't hurt him, and all that. And then even the part that I love is like, she's like, "Jack!" She's like, "Oh, you sleeping, honey?" or whatever. It's like, "Yeah." And all that. It's like, "Oh, Jack, Jack." He's like, what is it?" It's Danny, it's Danny. Someone, he said some woman attacked him and all that." And then, because there is a scene earlier on where Danny's just kind of like sitting there on the bed with a bruise, like, "Come on, he's not responding," and all this. It's like, "What?" "He said some woman attacked him." It's like, Danny, come on." Holds him, and then the shot's just him looking all creepy with a bruise on his neck. And I have to say, Danny, for a child actor, does a fucking fantastic job. I believe he's actually a school teacher now, coincidentally. But such a fantastic job in this film, honestly. In this flick! So he just done spectacularly. And then he's like, a naked woman in the bathtub grabbed him, attacked him. He's like, "What? Go check it out." Okay, so he goes up, and then we get another really iconic scene, and a very disturbing scene, um, as well. Jack Torrance decides to go up to the bedroom, walks in, goes to, or no, because actually room 237 is actually on the bottom. So he walks and he sees the door open, opens the door, walks in, looks around, opens the bath, sees the girl. She gets up, fully naked, has her titties and her vagina out and her bush. And you're like, yeah, and then he's kind of smiling, and she's just walking over to him slowly, smiling. Then they start making out or whatever. Then in the middle of it, he looks and then her body's all rotten. Like, he's like, ah! And like her body's all fucking rotten and shit. Like, and the practical effects and makeup they done for that was great. And she's like, he's like, running away, getting out, and then closing the door. It's like, so fucking creepy. Like, it's just brilliantly, the psychological shit and it's great. And of course, he's there typing and all this sort of shit. But then of course, there's also the scene where Wendy fucking finds Jack's paper typewriter and it says, all work no play makes Jack a dull boy, all work no play makes Jack a dull boy. And it's like that just typed out over and over and over again, and you're like, what the fuck. So many things that mean stuff in this film, just so much creepy fucking imagery. You know, but I love even when that scene with Mr. Halloran, like where it cuts back to his house, and you get this shot of the TV, and it's kind of zooming out a bit, and you get shots that would make Quentin Tarantino come his pants, off his feet, and then he's just there like that, watching TV, and he's like, "I gotta go there, Doc," and he knows that something's up because he has that psychic connection with Danny, and he's like, "What's going on?" So he gets up, goes to the goes to the hotel, goes to the phone, travels, goes to a place, and then even rings up. It's like, hey, at this place, like, hey, are you there? It's like, oh yeah, hi, what's up? And it's like, I'm just wondering about people staying at the Overlook Hotel. The family are doing something. It's like, oh yeah, the power lines are down. The kind of cuts back to them. It's like, but we can get them up. So okay, yeah. Just need to wonder if what's going on. It's like, yeah, okay. And then there's another scene where he flies down and he's talking to guys like, yeah, hello. It's like, what's up? It's like, who's this? It's like, it's me, Halloran. Oh, Halloran, haven't heard from you in a while. It's like, yeah, how have you been? It's fine. I'm here talking with the people at the Overlook Hotel. It's a family and they're not really doing what they're told. They're not doing a good job looking after it and stuff. It's like, I'm wondering, could you get me that? It's like, okay, I'm not sure. Like, oh, I need that soon. It's like, okay. How long will it take you to get up there? Oh, about 5 hours. Like, okay, cool. See ya. So I love that, and I love all the shots of the snow outside. It's like, oh, there's a storm coming. Oh, the storm is blowing stuff away. Yeah. And it's like, oh, we got it because of the storm and all that. There's a big storm up there. So they mentioned the storm a lot. And it's there for a while, and it like blocks up the windows, and it adds to the isolation because it's freezing outside. It's blocked, the roads are blocked, so it adds to the isolation and the creepiness of the Overlook Hotel, which is massive, beautiful, brilliant. And I even like a lot of the backstory when they're showing them around here. Like, oh, this was built in 18 whatever and 1902, and of course, it was an Indian burial ground, and it was remodeled and all this sort of shit, and they're going on and on about it. I like that aspect. But Jack, he begins to lose his mind. He gets shots of him and just, begins to absolutely fucking lose it. And then, like, you have great moments even the next morning where like Wendy and Danny are watching TV and you hear the Bugs Bunny. No. It's actually the meep, Road Runner, meep. And all that, and they're watching it. It's like, okay, Danny, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna go get your father and all that. He's like, not now, Wendy, and all that kind of shit. But I like that. I like the use of setting and location, how you're able to do so much, and there's so much creativity in this one location. I just love that about this film, honestly. And the shots of the window and just all that kind of stuff, and it's just brilliantly done, as I said. The way the camera moves and just this techniques, that Kubrick uses, the music and just everything else that's brilliantly done. in this film. There's another great scene later on where Jack is once again walking down the hotel. He's like, oh yeah, walking down the corridor. It opens, goes into the ballroom again, and it's filled with people who are ghosts. Like, oh, it's filled like, oh yeah, nice. Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's great. Sit down. Oh, I want to sit here. It's like, oh, good evening, Mr. Torrance. Hey, here, I'll have that drink and all that. He's like, yeah. And he's like, I'll do that. It's like, yeah. Do you want to, you know, do you want to have this? Like, yeah. Here's some money. He's like, we don't take money here, Mr. Torrance. It's like, no. Why? The less questions you ask Mr. Torrance, the better. So they're just talking for a while. It's like, what's going on? And then what ends up happening then is he's getting up and going, and then the waiter comes over, here you go, sir, and then spills something on him. He's like, oh, God. He's like, sir, what's your name? And he's like, your name? My name's such and such is the name of the guy that killed his family. So he's wiping off. Oh, come on, I'll come in and wipe this off. He's like, I'll come in and wipe this off you, sir. And he's like, okay, great. And he walks in and opens the door, and it's the most Kubrick thing ever. The red fucking bathroom, which is brilliant. It's like, oh yes, it's great. And it's just so colourful, so inventive. It's there, and he's just like, let me wipe this off and all that. It's like, yeah, it's cool, it's great. And then you get this amazing fucking sequence, and this is the sequence where Jack Torrance becomes just a full-on horror maniac villain. You know, it's just insane. And he's like, I was there with my two wife and kids. We came. It's like, yeah, oh yeah, sure you did. It's like, you were there, yeah. And then I like the edit, and it's like, oh yes, sir. Are you liking the Overlook Hotel? It's like, of course I am. And it's kind of cutting back and forth between the shots and the angles. Like, oh, of course I love it. It's amazing. Done a great job. The caretaker, it's like, oh yes, he's like, I know you. You butchered your wife and kids, didn't you? He's like, no, sir, I don't seem to have any recollection of that. It's like, well, you did. It was everywhere. It's on the news and just all this crazy fucking shit going on. And he's like, no, I didn't, sir. And then he says, like, I don't have any recollection. And then it gets more and more sinister, and then the racism part starts to come in. It's like, we have a bit of a problem and all that. It's like, we have, says the N word. It's like, oh, then Jack Nicholson says the N word, and you're like, oh, fuck. And they're kind of just like, fuck, what's going to happen? It's like, we have to take care of him. So my wife was nagging at me, so I took care of them. At first, the little girls didn't like it, and then they liked it, and then they started not to like it, so I took care of them too. And he's like, maybe you should do that. Take care of your family, or whatever word he uses for it. He doesn't say take care, but it's like, he's like, yeah, sure, and then walks out, and then it's just a creepy fucking scene. I like when Scatman's driving and the car's getting all fucked up or not weird or whatever. Then he gets into that weird thing and drives through it, and he gets shots of him driving, shots of him in the thing, and the brilliant snowy atmosphere. And they get there to the hotel, and it's just excellent, really. But of course, one of my favourite scenes, I think, as I said, Wendy goes in, finds the typewriter saying, all work, no play, thanks, Jack a dull boy. He's like, Wendy, what are you doing down here? And all that. And he's like, nothing, and all that. He's like, well, what's happening? And all that. Rips the page. He's like, I know what you've been working on. It's like, this is not good. It's like, oh, it's not good. It's not good. And then he's mocking her like, oh, it's like, well, you gotta stop doing this. Oh, do I gotta stop doing this? It's like, yeah, I'm not liking this. Oh, you're not liking it. And all, just being like really fucking aggressive. And it's like, Daddy's sick. Oh, is he sick? You don't know what I appreciate. I took this job from, and he's just going, and the way the camera's moving, and she's there with the baseball player. Get back. Like, to do this and all that. Is like, I work my ass off, and you fucking nagging at me. And I was like, sorry, get back. You're not gonna hit me with that, Wendy. and then just walking all the way through the room. It's like, no, Jack, please. And it's like, please don't. And she's like, you better stop it. And then he walks on the fucking, she walks on the steps like, stop it, stop it. And he's like, stop it. You're gonna calm down. It's like, I have to do this. I just trying to, I got a lot on my mind. I just have to think things over. That's all. And she's like, you have to think things over. You've had your whole fucking life to think things over. He's like, I'm not gonna hurt you. Darling, light of my life, I said I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. I'm gonna bash them right the fuck in. It's like, stay away, stay away. No, I'm not gonna hurt you. Where are you going? Stay away from Daddy. It's like, no, I wouldn't hurt him either. You won't fucking let go of what happened. Stop it! And she fucking hits him. Wendy falls over and she runs up, I'll catch you and all this shit. Wendy and all that. And he's like, limping around the hotel. You know, so I love that. I'm like, oh fuck. You know, I don't need you fucking nagging at me and stuff. And she's like, I gotta think things over. And you can tell how stressed she's getting in the situation. You know. And Danny's just lying there. It's like, hi Doc, you know, that kind of shit. And then, of course, you know, he ends up like going all the way over and all that, and she's kind of running like, no. And it's like, come on, and all that, and he ends up kind of going to the freezer like, I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna get you, and all that. He's like, no, and he falls over, opens up things like, no, and in the kitchen like, no, and then she's like, no, I'll get you, you bitch, and all this, and then fucking closes the door like, no, let me out of here, let me out, and he falls over, please let me out. And there's a moment that kind of reminded me a little bit of A Clockwork Orange in terms of like the sort of like, there's a shot of Jack going, no, let me out of here, Wendy, come on, let me the fuck out. Opens it and all that. It's like, please, I'm sorry, honey, please. Walks away and it's like, look, and it's like, don't try calling and all that, because it's not gonna fucking work. And she goes, oh no, and runs over and realizes that the radio's been cut, because Jack goes in, oh, the radio, yeah. Walks in, like, oh, you contacted him on the radio. Walks in, sees the little thing, and then just goes and unplugs it. And you get a shot of him unplugging it, and it's just, oh fuck. And just the fact that he loses his fucking mind is insane. And it's a guy going insane. He's fallen into complete madness. And I like how he starts off pretty normal and just turns him into a villain, like, through just being isolated. And it's scary, you know? Seeing these paranoid delusions and all that kind of shit. So I love that. And then, of course, you have that scene. You've got, he gets out like, goes running away, walking up, and then Shelly goes, fucking Wendy goes to sleep. It's like, Wendy, and all that. And as she's sleeping, Danny wakes up and goes, oh, I like the also part. Like, what's wrong? Well, Danny's, there's something wrong with Danny, and he's in the hotel room. It's like, come on, Danny, in there, go in there, and he's just there by himself. He's like, yeah, he's fine, he's okay. Look, across the road away from you, he's okay, Wendy. And she's like, okay, you know, and that he's talking to her. He's like, yeah, he's fine. She probably attacked him. No, because he comes back as well, I remember. So there's a scene where Jack comes back to talk to Wendy. And he's like, Wendy, Danny's fine. Like, I didn't see anything. It's like, what? But you just see a woman. It's like, I didn't see a goddamn fucking thing. Are you sure you checked in the right room? Wendy, I checked the fucking room and it was nothing there. It's like, please. I'm walking into the bathroom and I checked. There's nothing in his room and there's nothing in that room. And the rooms are kind of across from each other. It's like, there's nothing fucking there. Okay? Walks off. Okay, please just make sure. Shut up. Walks off. And it's annoying because he did see something and it shows how sinister he's gotten. But I was like, okay, Danny, you'll be okay. And then even like the whole, like, oh, your apartment parts are going to be up here. You know, I was like, oh, that's great. You know, that's in the scene earlier on when they're showing them around. Like, oh, this is where your apartment parts are. Um, so I love that. And of course, getting into the third act, the final act of the film, which is absolutely brilliant, by the way. Um, Shelley's asleep. Wendy's asleep. Shelley Duvall's the actress. Wendy's asleep, and she's just like, you know. And then Danny gets up and red rum, grabs the knife. You got the din din, red rum. And he starts writing red rum on the fucking mirror. Goes red rum. It walks around for a couple of minutes. Red rum goes up. Red rum, and she goes, red rum, Danny, stop it, red rum, stop it. And then she looks and just goes, and sees it says murder on the door, and like, come on, Danny, you'll be okay. And then, of course, getting into the film, getting into the iconic scenes near way later on in the film, like the light of my life scene, way later on as well, and essentially, Jack Torrance comes in up like, oh. Wendy, and then smashing, goes smashing. It's like, come on, Daddy, come on. Opens the door. You know, he's like, come on, climb out, Daddy, come on, come on. He runs off, and she's like hiding in the back. She's like, smashes the door down. It's like, Wendy, I'm home. She's like, locks herself in the toilet, like, has the knife, and like you can tell the horror of this scene because Shelley Duvall's acting is so fucking good in this scene. And he's like, come on. And then he's like, oh. And then he's like, oh, please stop it. And she's like, little pigs, let me come in. And he's like, not on the hair of your chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. And he starts going, and she's like, and starts smacking the axe, like, and just starts smacking it, and it's like, and it's like, Jack, please no. And she's smacking it, and the axe is just going through the door like, and smacks it, and then it goes all the way through. It's like, and he's like that, and he goes, and the axe goes through, and then he goes up, walks up to the crack, this scene right here, and goes, here's Johnny. And she's like, and he's about to open it, and then she just goes, and he goes, cuts up with the knife, and she tries to open it and goes, Daddy, walk, I can't get through, walk, whatever. So he's there and he's trying to open it and get in, but then Scatman gets there. He's like, oh, what's that? And all that. And then he's like, oh God, and he walks down. So he comes in or whatever. She gets out, walks down. That's when she sees like the guy in the bear costume and the other thing. And then she's walking in like, walking around the hotel, and then she ends up running into the other guy that died, you know, the other guy that Axe's family. Goes, oh, I'm here, with a big scar on his face. She's like, and then she's running, and then she opens up a door, and there's all these skeletons, and there's like this whole room filled with dead people. She's like, and then she looks like, what's happening? And she's running, and then she looks, and she just sees the fucking pool of blood and shit. And I believe that I can't remember if she runs into Mr. Halloran's like, oh, what's happened? So you gotta go get Danny. He's like, okay, where is he? I need help. Okay, let's go, and whatever. And then he's like, I believe the ghost guy goes, he's here. He's like, okay, I know. And he has the axe, and Jack is just going around. He's going around the ballroom like, oh, and he's like, oh, and he's like that. It's like, yeah, and then he's there, and then she. Scatman thing is there, and he's there, and then like something falls, and he hears him, and then, you know, Scatman's walking up, and then like Jack just comes over, and or fucking Halloran's there, and then Jack just comes over, smacks him with the axe, fucking kills him, smacks him, like, yeah, let's go, and then just starts going after Danny. Danny's running outside in the snow, and then he goes into the maze, and he's running, and then like he's just coming outside like, Danny boy, I'm coming, and all that stuff. And he's like, and he's walking through the maze, and it's so suspenseful. And then like Danny's foot is getting caught, and he's taking it up, and he's walking, it's getting caught. He's like, Danny, I'm coming, and you can tell that how like fucked up his voice is getting from the coldness, you know. And then like Shelley Duvall's out there like, Daddy, Daddy, looking for it, and then like it goes on for ages like, Daddy, and then there's this scene here obviously where he's like, and holy shit, 1 second, just want to make sure of something. So yeah, and it's a very suspenseful, effective scene, and I like the atmosphere and like the way it's shot. So that goes on for a while, and he's like, oh, Danny, and then he eventually gets out of the maze and runs. She's like, Danny, Danny, come on, let's go. And he's like, Danny! And then they get in the thing, they drive off, and they're saved, and like, oh, Danny! And he falls like, Danny! And then, cut to the next day, boom! And he's frozen, and the effect he done was great. He's just there like that. And then, of course, you get that last shot of the movie as it's zooming in to that photo, and you hear the and it zooms in, and Jack Torrance is there in the photo that says 1920 on it, which is a very leave it to interpretation ending. Was he there the whole time? Who knows? But yeah, that's really second half. But also, I'm going to talk more about the start of the movie now. I love the scenes with, um, Jack, or what's it, Mrs. Torrance, Wendy in the kitchen. And it's like, hi, Doc, what are you doing? And all that. And he's like, I'm just having it. And he's eating the sandwich and all that. It's like that. And you hear the Bugs Bunny, that me cartoon. It's like, do you like it? It's like, yeah. Does Tony like it? Yes, Mrs. Torrance. Hello. I was like, that's great. And there's loads of scenes with them in the kitchen, like, oh, that's great. It's great. And then even Jack Nicholson coming on, like, hi, honey. It's like, hi, Danny. He's like, hi, Dad. Dad, are we going there to the hotel? Oh, yeah. When are we going to that hotel? Yeah, it's great. And then I like the part where she's like, so, talking to the kitchen, so are you looking forward to going to the hotel? It's like, no, I'm not. Tony doesn't want it. What about Tony? I don't want to go there, Mrs. Torrance. Oh, come on, Tony. It'll be fun. She's a great mother. She's like, it'll be fun, Danny. It'll be fun. It'll be fun, Tony, and all that. So I love that. Those scenes. And it's like, yeah, it'll be great. It's like, yeah, of course, and all that. It'll be fine. It'll be fun. You'll love it, and all that. You look at it, and it'll be fine. And I also love the bit with the psychiatrist. He'll be fine, honey. Don't worry, Wendy, and all that. So psychiatrist is talking. You get a great shot in the bedroom. He's like, do you like this, Dan? He's like, yes. Who's your friend, Tony? He's like, Tony's the little guy that lives in my mouth. And it's like, hi, how are you? It's like, and he's just there in his underwear, there looking. And she's like, yeah, do you like that? It's like, what does Tony tell you to do things? I don't want to talk about Tony no more. It's like, okay. So they're talking for a while, and then he's like, come on, Mr. Torrance, I have to talk to you. It's like, okay, they're sitting down, and it's a great scene where it's like, well, I gotta say, Mrs. Torrance, there's nothing wrong with him and all that. And she's like, oh, that's great. It's perfectly normal to have this. And it's like going on and on about things. It's like, there was a time that he dislocated his shoulder. Why? Oh, it's not. It's just my uncle used to have it. My husband used to have a drinking problem, and one time he came home and he spilled papers everywhere, and he pulled Danny and accidentally dislocated his arm, but it was an accident. And he's been sober for months. He said, Wendy, if I touch another drink, you can leave me. And he hasn't touched a drink since, and she's smoking a cigarette. It's a great scene. But I also love the scene where they're driving to the hotel, and Jack Nicholson's there, and when he's like, oh, it's nice, they live back here. It's like, yeah, it's really nice and all that. And you get the shots of the hills again, and he's like, Dad, is this a nice place? It's like, yeah, and yeah, of course. And then they start talking about something something that's not appropriate, like, oh, I saw it, it's great, I heard about that. It's like, yeah, do that. It's like, Jack, not in front of him. Oh, I heard about that. I heard about it. It's like, don't talk about that in front of him, Jack. I seen it on the TV. It's like, see, Wendy? You saw it on the television. So, yeah, Overall, guys, I think this is a classic. This is a masterpiece from the music, from the directing, from the camera work in every scene, the big long wide shots, the panning shots, the creepiness, the visual effects, visually stunning to look at. It's creepy. There's a lot of show don't tell, the style, the location, um, practical effects, gory, brilliant story, brilliantly written. There's some dark moments, dark humor that I find funny, and scary as fuck moments. It's creepy. So overall, brilliant performances by Jack Nicholson, Scatman Trotters, who's a likable character, and the kid that played Danny, and you know, your one that plays Wendy, Shelley Duvall. Overall, guys, absolutely love this film. Hope you guys enjoyed my movie review. This was one of the longest reviews I've done. Um, so I apologize for that. So yeah, here's the front, the spine, the back. There's a Blu-ray and a DVD. I've seen both cuts. I prefer, as I said, the extended cut. If you want to know what I think of both versions, a quick review. I love both versions of this film. Got this little cool thing here. Postcards. Got some stuff here. There it is again. And then the DVD is the theatrical cut and the Blu-ray is the extended version. So I watched the extended version last night, which I don't know why they don't put both of them on fucking Blu-ray for the thing. That's the only issue I have, really. So yeah, that's basically it. I will be doing a movie review to the sequel of this movie, Doctor Sleep. So I'll be doing that soon. I'll see you guys later, and bye.